Welcome to 11-2 Explain Analyzing a Source Document. We're looking at a bank statement. The Security National Bank has a holder, a depositor by the name of Global Travel Agency. And the question says, review Global Travel Agency's bank statement and answer the following questions. It's giving us three questions. These are actually pretty in-depth, considering that this may be the first time you're looking at a bank statement. But with everything in accounting, there is a process. And we're going to answer some questions real quickly. Number one, how much money do we have in the bank after this statement comes out? So the bank is telling us there is $1,073. Well, what did we start with in the bank account when at the beginning of this statement? We would go 2714. What period of time are we talking about? Well, here's the bank statement. There's the bank statement. It was drawn up on February 28th. A couple other things it's asking us is, if you're looking here on the columns, it says deposits and other credits. Well, deposits and other credits, we have three deposits. How many? Three. And where are they found? Well, go over here. Deposits and other credits. Now, I will tell you right out of the gate, when they start calling deposits credits, you got me baffled there why they would do it. But in any case, there's a reason for it. So these are increases on the account. This is not an accounting term that you would use when you're keeping your books. So these are checks that you deposited. They're increasing your bank account by $23.95. Well, if they increased this $27.14, where's the money that was decreased? Well, you can see to the column to the left under checks and other debits, which again, these debits actually decrease the value of the account. Counterintuitive, I'll give you that. Read this. It says right here, and let's go with purple. How many checks were there? 7 checks. 7 checks that you wrote to people or other businesses. Where are they at? Very clear. They're the ones without any notations beside them. So here's one, there's one, there's one, here's one, here's one, here's one, and here's one. Okay? That leaves us with these 3 items that we're going to be dealing with. So the checks. They're all accounted for. They're checks that cleared through your account. You can see right here. You started with a $27.14. You added to it $1,250. You came up with a new balance. Then you subtracted the $700 check that came from that, and you got a new balance. Right? Next transaction, you had another check clear, a new balance. Then you added a little money, a new balance. This is how it works, right? And the check cleared, a new balance. Now, there's other things involved here that go into this number. And what would they be? What are you always looking for? Well, the clues are all down here. Certified checks, debits or credits, they're T's. Service charges, they're notated with an S. List, CR, overdrafts, right? And return checks. Well, what is a return check? Say you got a check from a customer you had done some business for. They paid you a check, and say they paid you $100 for your services. You get to the bank and the check is no good. It's returned. So what you thought was going into your bank account, and that, maybe it was part of this deposit right here, the $1,250. Maybe a $100 check that was in that bundle bounced and it was no good. So now, instead of having this number of $39.64, that has to get reduced. How do you do it? Well, you recognize right here that there's an R next to this 100. This is a $100 check that was returned. Right, so this is a check that was returned. Right there. Put a nice green line around it. So the $100 check returned, and because you're such a loyal citizen, they hit you with a service charge for that. Okay, and it's a service charge for well, having the luxury of depositing someone else's money that bounced. So they hit you with something. So the S is a service charge. How much were you charged? You were charged $25. So now, not are you only out $100 because the person's check bounced, you're out an additional $25 because that cost you something. And the bank thinks of it as, you know, they're going through trouble, and well, there you go. You got to pay somebody. So maybe some of the questions could be answered at this point. So what is the amount of the returned check? Well, simple. It's right there. Look for the R. Okay, there's your indication. There's your return check decoder at the bottom. It was for $100. Question: how much did the bank charge Global Agency? Here is Global Agent. They're the one that had the bank account for return check. It seems unfair, but it happens. So you got a service charge here of $25. Okay. Now, it's listed right below the check that bounced. So there's a connection between the two of these. Because you're going to ask me a question in a second. I'm going to say, well, how can you tell the difference between this S and that one? Well, it's the proximity to the check that was returned. So how much was it for? How much was they charged? $25. Now, what account will be debited for $12 for the bank service charge? What is the bank service charge, first of all? Well, for the luxury of having your money at the Security National Bank, and for them to be able to clear your checks and provide you the statement and that high level of service that they claim to give you, they're going to charge you $12 a month. So that's a bank fee. This is the first time you're seeing this charge. Okay, you don't get a bill in the mail. You don't get, it doesn't get invoiced to you. You don't write a check for it. The only source document that this service charge is going to show up on is the bank statement. So the bank statement is your source document, right? So this $12, and it's going to tell you, as we know, a bank service charge is a fee. It's a charge. Now, let me reframe that. It's an expense. So you could say expense, and it's going to be what account? Well, the account is going to be miscellaneous. You're going to do a drop-down menu here, and you're going to find miscellaneous. Miscellaneous expense. That is what the bank service charges are going to come under. Now, I will tell you that with my business, I always had a separate account listing the bank service charges. I wanted to know what the expenses were adding up, and eventually you pull the trigger and go to a different bank. You're not going to tolerate being charged to keep your money someplace. So how much were they charged? What account's going to be debited? Well, we know expenses are debited, right? There's where the $12 will show up. So you would say miscellaneous expense. It's a lot of scribble, but it's valuable information. Again, it's deciphering what is on that bank statement and how do you make sense out of it. It's not as complicated as it looks. You just need to know what you're looking at. So that is 9 minutes and 21 seconds of your life that you just spent on question 11-2, explained, analyzing a source document.